Good afternoon, delegates. Now we are moving towards our second session of day one, and it is by Dr. C.R. Patil, Professor R.C. Patel Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Shirpur. Dr. C.R. Patil did his graduation from Shivaji University, Kolhapur, and post-graduation in pharmacology from Gujarat University, Ahmedabad. He completed his PhD from Shivaji University, Kolhapur. He started his career in academic as a lecturer at SVPM's College of Pharmacy, Malegaon, KLE's College of Pharmacy, Belgaum, Karnataka. Then he joined as assistant professor at R.C. Patel Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Shirpur in 2005. Currently, he is a professor at R.C. Patel Institute. His awards achievements includes National Teachers Award by Ministry of Education of India, New Delhi. He is also a recipient of Innovator Teacher Award by MHRD, Government of India, New Delhi. He also received a Young Scientist Award by CCRH, Ayush, New Delhi, and Odi Gulati Award by Indian Pharmacological Society, and many more. He has guided 45 postgraduate and 5 PhD students. He is invited as a resource person in more than 70 national level conferences. He had more than 100 research and review papers and 3 books on his credit. He had published a patent on herbal composition comprising bartogenic acid containing extract of fruits Barringtonia racemosa. As per Google Scholar, he is having H index of 34 and more than 3800 citations. Today, he is guiding us on the topic of ethics in academic research, what, how, and why. Sir, please start your session.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, madam. Is my PPT visible? Hello.
Just a minute, sir. Yeah, it is visible, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
at the outset, I'm thankful to the organizers of this particular online FTP. I'm thankful to Dr. Sir and Madam for being in touch with me and allowing me to share my experiences in this particular August audience, online audience.
Yes, sir.
Actually, when we are talking about ethics in academic research, see, we are particularly saying that something like academics research is there. Okay, academic research and industrial research we are differentiating means this term using academic research itself is telling us that there is some other issues with academic research which are not there in industrial research. Maybe okay, that's why we are differentiating research process like this, which actually should not be done. Research is research, whether you are doing it in academia, whether you are doing it in some research organization or industry, anywhere. Research activities are research activities, but still, we are saying that there is something called as academic research, and this itself underscores that we are having some separate concerns about academic research. Well, introducing any researcher, we generally tell that this particular researcher, this particular professor is having so many publications, his H index is this much, his I-10 index is this much, he has got so many patents, and this is the way generally we are, this is the customary according to which we are introducing a speaker. But it is more important to know whether a speaker who is talking about ethics has really come across some unethical practices in his life, or it will be more important to know whether some misconduct has happened at the hands of the speaker himself. Okay, and I feel that it must be admitted by me that one of my papers was retracted. Okay, and that retraction has hypersensitized me about whatever my students are doing, and maybe that is the reason why, as a guide, I am becoming too much concerned about each and every step the student conducts in his research project. No doubt this is quite hectic for the students as well, quite irritating for me as well. But then, as I have gone through a bad experience, even after taking utmost care, it is important that I should share this bad experience with you all, and then I will try to attract your attention to how, as teachers, as people working in academia and trying to do some research, how we can avoid this kind of misconduct which may happen at our hands many times unintentionally. Okay? Intentionally, generally, we do not try to fabricate the data or falsify the data or copy paste someone's data. Those things, as teachers or as students, we try to avoid. But there are many cases where we do not even know that we are conducting something in a wrong way. Okay, we are conducting research in a wrong way. And that is the reason why I feel that the subject like this, ethics in academic research, is needed to be repeatedly discussed. Okay? So that each batch which is coming in our laboratories or each new batch which is coming will be sensitized regarding the meaning of all these things. Now question comes, why sitting in 2024 we are still discussing about ethics in academic research? Are we not sufficiently aware about what is really happening or how ethics is to be followed? See, now MPharm course particularly has been converted into 2 years course now, okay, which was earlier 1.5 years course. And before say 20 years, research was a minor aspect of a MPharm thesis. Only 6 months were given to research topic. But now what has happened is we are having 1 whole year to conduct research projects for PG courses. And then at PhD level, we are having 3, 4, 5 years. So that is a different aspect. But at PG level, when we are first getting exposed to research activities, we are still having 1 year, which is sufficiently longer time. But what is happening now is, even after sufficient sensitization of teachers from UGC, from Government of India, still unethical practices are very, very rampant. Okay. See what has happened in year 2023 is, this is the article, I have taken this particular diagram from an article published in Nature, which tells us that in year 2023, there were more than 10,000 retractions of published articles. Okay. And the author of this particular article has called this year as a bumper year for retractions, because nowhere before this so many papers were retracted within a year. Okay. So I feel that it is very relevant to talk about malpractices, unethical practices which are happening in academic research at this particular junction. Okay. Sitting in 2024 month of March, we must look at the level of retractions which are happening. Just in last year, 10,000 papers have been retracted. Okay. And then there was detailed discussion regarding what kind of reasons are there, or in which particular areas people are trying to say, or people are going unethically. Okay. So this author has further given details regarding what are various reasons for which, or what are various faculties in which unethical practices are happening, or we may say that unethical practices are happening without notice, but still they are happening. People have gone to such an extent that they have started using words like paper mill. Okay. What is paper mill? Now this word is being used to designate those organizations which are rampantly publishing papers. They want to be at the top in the number of papers they have published. Okay? So such organizations are now being called as paper mill. This new word has been added to the vocabulary of scientists who are trying to publish very rapidly. Okay? Another important thing that has come up is artificial intelligence generated content. Okay, this is a new trend again, and this is also contributing sufficiently to generation of falsified data. Or maybe while writing review articles or research topics, people are just using ChatGPT or Perplexity AI like tools, and they're preparing the review articles using that. Okay. There are other reasons like journals which are calling for the papers, they are not properly reviewing the paper. Means there is no blinded review of the research papers. Even that can be a reason for large number of retractions which are happening at the end. And then there are many other traditional reasons like people want to publish because their academic performance index is based on this particular number of publications they are having, highest impact factor which they are having, and even at university level everywhere, we see that if someone publishes a paper in impact factor above 5, it is considered as a very big achievement. Okay, and that is the reason why everyone is trying to publish papers in high impact journals. Okay? Just from Dr. Javed, we have listened what is meant by impact factor, what is meant by these indices of journals which are telling about the quality and all. So it is a temptation for everyone that each one tries to publish his or her paper in the highest impact factor journal. Why? Because it is being considered as an index of the performance of the faculty or the student. So such traditional reasons are also there why people are trying to unethically generate the data or unethically publish the data. But again, in 2023, this has become a hot topic of retractions of papers in a very high number, which has never happened before, is a reason why unethical practices are coming to center stage again. The discussions regarding unethical practices is coming to center stage again. Now again, at all the levels, we will have to look back at our own behavior, what we are doing in our laboratories. Okay? So whatever we are seeing in this paper, science map of academic misconduct. See the name, the title of this paper itself is again containing the word academic, indicating that academic research has some dimensions of itself which may be problematic, which are compelling people to compromise some ideal practices which are to be undertaken. Okay? And that is the reason why ultimately whatever publications they are having, whatever data they are publishing, that is getting retracted. Okay? In the beginning, I told that I am also having one such bad experience where one of my papers was retracted. It was a very, very problematic for me also, for my students also. Because if one paper in your lifetime is retracted, that plot remains on your CV throughout your life. You cannot remove that plot. Okay? That is the reason why each one of us should know what is ethical practice, what is unethical practice, how we are actually unknowingly or knowingly committing these mistakes in research, and what are reasons behind it. But then, if we understand the kind of loss that we are going to face, then we'll sure understand that we have to take utmost care while doing research. And see, academic research is again a big issue, particularly for the countries like India, where we are always facing scarcity of resources. Even research articles which we are referring, majority of them have been downloaded from proxy websites. This is our reality. Okay? We do not have sufficient funding to buy original research articles. So we generally visit the websites like SciAp or LibGen or other websites, and our research activities are surviving on such access to data. Now, this can highlight what kind of shortcomings we are having in academia, what kind of resource crunch that we are having in academia, which is compelling us to do some things which are actually considered as unethical. Okay. See, at government level also, many draft guidelines have come, some regulations have been published. UGC has tried to sensitize academia regarding integrity and research quality. There is a detailed guideline which has been published by Ministry of Education and Department of Higher Education in association with UGC. So this is a good document which each of us should know. Okay. And if suppose a possibility is there that PCI revises its syllabus, then it may be made mandatory for the students to take this one particular topic as a part of their syllabus. Okay. Even principal scientific officer's office, along with in response to feedback from Indian National Science Academy and Indian Academy of Sciences, has created a draft guideline, a policy on academic ethics. Okay. And here also the research has been very properly underscored and has been suggested what kind of malpractices, what kind of unethical practices should be avoided by academicians. Now question comes, if the issue is so serious, are we really becoming sensitized about this? Are we telling each of our new batch to observe particular things? If we ask these questions to ourselves as academicians, I will say that there are very few institutions where people can manage to sensitize the students like this, and people can manage to maintain their laboratories in such a way that by mistake, without understanding, some some kind of malpractices can happen. So the issue of ethics is so serious in these days now. And each academician, each person who is taking a student, let him be a PG student or PhD student, will has to very critically look into all aspects of research activities which can ensure that there is no unethical conduct that is happening. Again, look at ourselves. If someone asks us what is unethical conduct in research, I'm sure that very few of us will be able to define or enlist what kind of unethical practices happen in academic research. This is because we do not sit aside and discuss about this. Okay? And I'm thankful to the organizers that they have accepted this particular topic and they are allowing me to share my opinions with you. So, the article in which it has been detailed that more than 10,000 articles, research and review articles have been retracted in year 2023. In the first 8 countries, there is name of our country also. Even though we are far lower in number of retractions as compared to say China or Malaysia or Iran, but still in this particular article review which has been published in Nature, the name of our country also has been flagged. And before this also, in many organizations of national importance, say like CDRI or CSRI, there were many research articles which have been retracted from reputed journals. Okay? And these numbers also have been published in certain reviews now. These are published data, okay? Where 35 papers from CDRI, more than 130 papers from CSI, IITR, they have been flagged for image duplication or manipulation. Now let's compare our colleges which are located in some distant areas where we are having very serious problems about research facilities and our students have to travel around 50-75 kilometers for getting research facilities. In such cases, how far we are able to control all those things which are compelling us to perform something in a way that is not up to the scientific fervor, that is not up to the scientific quality. Okay? If we see these great organizations where research facilities, fundings, everything is freely flowing, still their problems are happening. What must be happening in other academic institutions where research facilities are scarce? Okay? This is worth looking at. Okay? And one more thing that is happening is, as years are passing, and decades are passing, the frequency of retractions is increasing. It is not decreasing. Earlier, we were not having rules and regulations or guidelines. At that time, few retractions were happening. But even when rules, regulations, laws are coming, the number of retractions is not getting reduced. Means there is some problem in our understanding about the ethical conduct in research. And through this particular discussion, we're going to see which are those points where unknowingly we are committing some mistakes. Okay? We must not feel that this problem of research misconduct is happening only in India or happening only in academia. Yeah, that is not true. Even in industries, big research organizations, there have been very serious research misconducts. There is a famous case from South Korea of Dr. Wang Woo-soo, who is considered as a pioneer in many stem cell-based technologies. Okay. He was a very well-known, very well-decorated scientist who claimed that he has created human embryonic stem cell lines. So this was a kind of breakthrough type of research. He published papers on this, but later on, it was observed that there was some issue in his publications, some issue in his claims about the kind of research he had done. And then many of his research papers on human embryonic stem cell lines were retracted. Okay. If suppose he had really succeeded in creating embryonic stem cell lines, then probably he could have got a Nobel Prize in this research. Because he was the scientist of that stature. He was having all good facilities, world-class laboratories with him. But still, at his hand, some kind of misconduct has happened. Another misconduct that has been done by a company while studying COX-2 inhibitors clinically. And see the journal in which this paper was published. It was published in New England Journal of Medicine, which is having impact factor around 38, 40, 50. Okay? In such high impact factor journal, a company published the data. And later on, it was found that they had intentionally reported only selective part of the study. And wherever some adverse reactions were reported or found in the clinical trials, they did not show those adverse reactions in their studies, in their publications. So even in industrial research, such kind of misconducts have happened. We consider Lancet as the gold standard of clinical data publication. Okay. But even some papers have been retracted from Lancet. There was a study in which a clinical trial was published, and shockingly, people came to know that all the 900 patients which were reported in that particular study never existed. Means to such extent, malpractices have happened even beyond academia. Okay? So this kind of malpractice is a global disaster, and many people have tried to prepare review articles, tried to do meta-analysis. They have tried to carry out multiple surveys to know the people's perception about all these things, and this is an ongoing process. Okay? There is a survey which was published in Nature by a German scientist who revealed that more than 80% of the respondents who were scientists in clinical research said that there is some problem in the way clinical data is being reported through journals. And almost 60% of the life sciences related scientists say that yes, they are knowing that something wrong is happening around them, and this misconduct must be prevented. That steps should be taken to stop this misconduct. Okay, so we can say the percentage of respondents. There are 80% people who are saying, surveyed people who are saying that they know some kind of misconduct is happening. Okay? Means it is a global disaster that is happening. And unfortunately, what has happened is in the meta-analysis which was conducted by a scientist called Daniel Hanelli, his article has been published in PLOS ONE, which takes an overview of what kind of misconduct is happening, in which particular field the misconduct is happening, what are reasons for that. Okay. And he has found out that majority of the scientists, many scientists, more frequently in case of medical and pharmacological research, are fabricating and falsifying research data. We can understand the seriousness of this issue now, right? And that is the reason why we have to look at what we are really doing. Again, in the discussion of this particular article, Daniel finally has said that whatever he has reported or whatever he has come across in this meta-analysis is just a tip of iceberg, because these are the people whose articles have been retracted, or they have been trapped, or they have been identified to have done some misconduct. And why this is happening now again? It is happening because we are having very proper control on digitally published data now. We can easily sort it out. We can easily find out whether there are duplications of images, whether there are some duplications of figures, graphs, whether the same values are getting repeated across the groups or not. All these kind of things can be done very easily now, and people have become very aware about the probabilities of malpractices. And there are separate organizations which are looking after reducing such kind of incidences. That is the reason why we are able to today at least say that so many articles are getting retracted. 10,000 articles throughout the world getting retracted from academic research is an alarming situation. Okay. And that is the reason why scientific misconduct is getting into center stage again. And as academicians, particularly people who are working in Indian academia, will have to very seriously look at these issues. Okay? No doubt there must be examples who have faced this the kind of incidences that I have faced. Okay? I have faced one retraction. There are maybe many of us who have come across such problematic incidences. All of us should come together and try to see how, in our case, we can reduce the kind of misconduct that is happening. The question comes, why we Indians should be more conscious? Because we are the people who are trying to feel that we are becoming superpower. Earlier, it was considered that we will be becoming a superpower by 2020. Then someone said that no, we will be becoming superpower at 2030. Now we are saying we will be becoming superpower at 2047. Let it be any year in future we may become superpower, but then this desire to become superpower, it itself shows that we are trying to very aggressively show our research output. We are trying to very aggressively show that we can patent new thing every day. We are trying to show that we are most innovative people. We can innovate a new thing every day. So that kind of psychology has become very prominent in academia now. We are again a rapidly progressing economy, so every one of us is compelled to find out something that can be commercialized. We must find out something that can add to the overall impression about our organization. All these things are happening. Okay. So economic progress, a desire to become superpower, and less number of performers. See, when we ask our students to come to lab and learn some techniques, let's not blame students. If we ask our staff members or colleagues to come to lab and learn all this equipments which are lying in our laboratories, we get a very cold-blooded response there. Okay. We are not having the tendency to sit at the laboratory table and do some experiments at our own hands. Very rarely it happens. In academia, this tendency is too much. A professor will rarely go to the table where a student is performing a research activity, and you'll try to try his hand on that particular experiment. This never happens really in India. At least in academic institutions, I have come across. I never saw professors spending time at laboratory tables. They are spending time in drafting the manuscript, performing the statistics when the data is submitted to them. But what quality data is getting generated, we are less concerned about this. Maybe we are not having time. Maybe we feel that that is not our work. But that is one of the reasons why we are not aware what is really happening at the hands of our students. Okay? Another serious problem of academia is poor resources. We are not having inflow of chemicals. We are not having all high-end instruments with us. And then we have to keep on collaborating with the people. And the problem with collaboration, academic collaboration particularly, is we never visit to our collaborators' labs also. That is the biggest issue. Okay? We do not see what our collaborator is submitting to us. And then another problem with us is we are having very good imagination power, so we can keep on hopping between different research topics. We do not spend time on a single area of research. Even my case, I work on inflammation, I work on cardiovascular system, I work on cancer, I work on fibrosis, everything. So this kind of tendency to keep on hopping between the research topics is also one of the problems why we're not very correctly carrying out our research activities. And then we are smartest, happiest people. That is also a problem. We want happy ending for everything. All our research activities we feel that they should succeed. They should give us something very nice that can be published in high impact journal. Very rarely we happily accept negative results. Very rarely we say that, okay, my student was performing the experiment correctly. So whatever he has got through this particular experimental process protocol, that is correct. This kind of confidence we do not have. So generally, when a student comes with negative result, we again compel him to look back, or we ask him to perform the same experiment again. Even again, the student comes with the same result, we then say that there is some problem with the student himself. We will never say that the experiment might be giving the results which are there on our table. Okay? So this kind of tendency of looking at the happy ending always also is one of the reasons why we unknowingly commit mistakes in our research activities. Then generally what is happening is there are people who are trying to be lots of data. They directly fabricate the data, or there are copycats. This copycat tendency is now becoming still more smarter because of AI technologies. AI technologies help us in writing review articles or collating the data very easily. And then just by paraphrasing, we can prepare a very good review article. So this kind of practices are happening, and technology is helping us in doing this. Then there are some bullies, some very new people who are entering into the list of authors, maybe friends, maybe relatives, maybe a good student, or maybe boss himself. So all these kind of things are happening regularly, and we are not feeling that it is some kind of misconduct. So all these are considered as serious misconducts in publishing the data. If you are adding those people in the author list who have not contributed to research, then these ghost authors or entry of ghost authors must be considered as a very horrendous kind of experience. But that we do not feel anything like that. We keep on adding ghost authors in our author list. We generally put names of our senior HODs, principals in our research publications. Or there are few people who are trying to just give some one or two hints to you, and they are entering the list of authors. All these are malpractices again. Okay, but these are happening very rampantly in academia. Now, due to the fear of getting less points in academic performance index, we keep on publishing. Okay. Then we are also having number of journals which are actually predatory journals, which are publishing the papers at very small charges like 1,500 rupees or so, and they are entering into care list of UGC also. Okay. So even this is a serious problem that is happening in academia. Another issue is how, what is the logic I cannot understand, that UGC is saying that one professor can take only 3 PG students and he can take 8 PhD fellows. Maybe PhD fellows do not need any guidance. That's what maybe the understanding of UGC while making such kind of rules. But then, how this imbalance is there? Guide means you can guide 8 PhD fellows, but you cannot guide 8 PG students. Such kind of rules are there, and no one is visiting these rules seriously. Actually, the number should be reversed. You should be able to guide only 3 PhDs and 6 PGs maximum, or 8 PGs maximum. But that is not happening in India. The Indian professor can guide 8 PhDs, but he cannot guide more than 3 PG students. Such funny rules are there. Okay, so even this might be contributing to some kind of misconduct that is happening. Okay. So now, other question, big question comes. I have given you some examples where I am saying that this is what is unethical conduct, or this is ethical misconduct that is happening at our hands, like cooking the data and copying information from other sources, adding ghost authors to the author list. All these are some kind of ethical misconducts. Now question comes, why we are calling this as ethical misconduct? To understand why this is ethical misconduct, we have to actually look at what is the definition of term science itself. When we are doing research, we are doing a scientific activity. And a scientific activity is nothing but the search for truth. And how you are searching this truth? You are searching it through organized skepticism. Whatever is coming in front of you, you are having a skeptic review of it. You are not easily believing in what you are saying. And that kind of skepticism is very organized. You know at what stages you have to be skeptic. And then there should be some disinterestedness in the results that you are proposing. So all these things, if you are doing, what you are seeking the truth. If you are taking a drug and you want to see whether it acts really or not, then there should be skepticism, there should be disinterestedness. Should not have the childlike enthusiasm to claim that this drug is having very great activity which was not decided earlier or which was not encountered earlier. This kind of claims we should stop doing if we are doing science. But generally, this is not happening. Whatever research topics we are taking, we are less bothered about seeking the truth. We are more bothered about publishing the paper on it. We are more bothered about getting positive results. We never show any disbelief in what we are getting in our hands. Okay? And we are having worldly interests in doing research activities, scientific activities. All these are contributing to the problems. Okay? Now question comes, is there any systematic definition about scientific misconduct, unethical conduct of science? Yes, there is a very systematic definition which has been given by Office of Research Integrity of US government. Okay? There is no parallel body to research integrity, Office of Research Integrity in India. This year, ICMR has published some guidelines regarding how to write a review article, how to do meta-analysis. Okay? But earlier, this kind of restrictions were not there upon us. So what I say regarding misconduct, ethical misconduct is fabrication, falsification, and plagiarism. If you are doing any of this in proposing, performing, reviewing of the research, or in reporting of the research results, then it will be considered as unethical misconduct, unethical practice. It will be considered as ethically wrong thing. Okay? Why misconduct is happening at our hands? There are multiple reasons. Okay? First thing is, we are not looking at literature properly. If our guide says that you have to study this particular medicine, we just take it and start studying it. We do not look at the literature, detailed literature available on any of the particular drug or plant or extract or anything. We are having a wrong belief that this particular thing has been very well mentioned in Ayurveda. Since thousands of years, this is being used. Okay? So this kind of believing on some hypothesis must be avoided. We must very seriously do literature search. Then only we will be able to come up with the right hypothesis. Then only we will be able to properly formulate our research question. This is not happening properly in academia. Okay? So this is the first thing where, because we are doing poor literature search, we are committing some unethical practices. Another important aspect is study material sources. And each one of us is having this kind of experience. This experience is very common. If you buy any made in China kind of chemicals, if you import them from China, many times they are not pure chemicals. They are not even the chemicals which we have purchased. On the package, they will be mentioning the name of that chemical, but inside they will be just supplying you chalk powder. Okay? And every year we are facing this kind of problem. Even in this year, just before 15 days, we came to know that the gift sample that we had got from a company did not contain the chemical that we had asked for. We carried out DSC of it, we carried out LCMS of it, and ultimately we decided that we will not be using that chemical for our study. We purchased a new chemical. How many times we are doing this? If a chemical is supplied by someone as a gift sample, or it has been bought from some distributor, how many times we are really checking the quality of that chemical? Rarely we do that. Again, the purity of chemical itself is another issue. The grade of chemical which is to be used for a particular purpose, we are not looking at it. So for research activity, whether we need an analytical grade compound or research grade compound or laboratory grade compound, we never think about it seriously. Many times, as laboratory grade are cheaper, we buy them and start studying on the activity of those compounds. Okay? So here also, unknowingly, we are ethically doing a wrong thing. Okay? There are many parameters which are just coming as a customary. This happens in plant-related research. Okay? Generally, as we are not properly looking into the literature, we may keep on doing some parameters which are totally irrelevant for that step. LDPP is one of the parameters where if you are working on a plant extract, you will be deciding LDPP. You will be killing multiple number of animals. You will not even following the OECD guidelines, which are the most recent updated valid guidelines for LD50. Those we are not following properly. This is not regarding only LD50. Any parameter that you are studying, there must be some logic. There must be some detailed, updated guideline that you are following. There must be some proper protocol that you have to follow to perform that activity. We are not looking at these things also seriously. And because of this, we may keep on estimating those wrong parameters, irrelevant parameters repeatedly. And again, by killing animals, we are doing another unethical practice. So this is happening very frequently with us. Apart from unwanted parameters, we are many times studying the drugs at very high doses. Again, for chemicals, extracts. You can find research articles published on 800 milligram per kg dose or 1200 milligram per kg dose. These are published articles. Okay. So here also logically we have to start thinking about the maximum dose that can be used or that can be studied as a drug substance. Okay. So we have to look at all these minute points for which we have to sit with our students, sit with the research fellows, talk regarding the logical correctness of what you are doing. Then only this kind of malpractices can be stopped. Okay? So these are the points where we are unknowingly committing mistakes, unknowingly wasting the resources, unknowingly reporting the data that is not having scientific validity or scientific applications. Another important point is sharing of the control groups in animal studies. Even ethics committees of institutional animal ethics, uh, they are trying to tell the investigators to share control group animals. Now, what generally happens is when we are performing a research activity, it is expected that all our study subjects should be exposed to the drug at the same time. They must be kept in a similar condition and they must be sacrificed on the same day or within a short span of time so that we will be having all their parameters uniform. If suppose you ask the investigators to share data from different groups, control groups, say there are 5 students working under me, can I tell all the 5 students to just use 6 rats as their control group? This is again unknowing, unethical practice. Okay? Because those 6 rats which are in the control group will not be sacrificed at the same time when all those 5 students will be sacrificing their animals or collecting samples from their animals. And there are parameters which are to be immediately estimated, like oxidative stress parameters, some protein estimations. There is necessity that we have to estimate them as soon as possible after collection of the biological sample. If you share the control group, this cannot happen. There is another misunderstanding that we can use images from earlier studies. Okay? Unknowingly, students copy paste images even of control group. See what is going to happen if you are copy pasting the control group images, because control group is having the same anatomy, physiology every time, right? So if a student says that he wants to copy the images from earlier thesis only for control group, he will be studying other groups very seriously. He will be doing analysis of histopathological analysis of other groups. But for control group, he will be selecting some images from last year. Can we consider this as ethical practice? This is not ethical practice. This is seriously punishable kind of unethical practice. And even at best organizations, unknowingly, when students copied earlier data for control group from their own research work, it was considered as a punishable offense. So unknowingly, we should not use any earlier research data for publication in the current research data. This is also a very important thing about which we may not be aware. Students may not be aware. And unless and until you clearly point it out that this is not permissible, students may still commit this kind of mistakes. Okay? So here also, academically, while doing research or while carrying out academic research, we are committing mistakes. Another big issue with academic research is thorough knowledge, sufficient discussions, and sufficient peer discussions. This never happened in our Indian culture. Each professor has 3-4 students and they make a separate group. They are working in a silo. They do not share their data with anyone else. They do not discuss their data with anyone else unless and until it is published. So if I have to look at the research model that my colleague has performed, what I will have to do? I will have to wait till he publishes that paper. Between us, there will not be any kind of free interaction, free sharing of that research data. Or he may not come to me or I may not go to him to check whether the results that I am getting are correct or not. And this is also one of the reasons why we may end up committing serious mistakes. I had got such one experience where I performed a model of complete fruit adjuvant, which is the arthritis model. And unknowingly, we estimated rheumatoid factor in our animals using a kit We had bought kit from Tulik Diagnostic Private Limited, Goa, India, for RF factor, and we titrated the serum of our animals with that kit, and we found that in arthritic rats there was some amount of clotting which was indicating some factors similar to rheumatoid factors were present in the animal's blood, animal serum. We communicated this paper, and then we came to know that CFA model is considered as a seronegative model. There are no rheumatoid factors present in the animal serum if you are performing CFA model. Okay. So such kind of mistakes may happen at our hands if suppose we are not seriously looking at the results, we are not sufficiently discussing the results amongst ourselves. Another similar example, we were having UV visible microplate reader, and a student estimated histamine using that UV visible microplate reader. When he was presenting his research work, he said that for excitation wavelength, he has used this particular wavelength, emission wavelength, he has used this particular wavelength. And someone pointed out that in UV visible spectroscopy, there is nothing like excitation emission wavelength. And at that time, the student came to know that the method he was using for estimation of histamine, serotonin, needed fluorescent microplate reader, which was not available with us. So we asked the student to just remove that particular parameter because that kind of detection had not been done. Still, the student was feeling that he is getting very good results about estimation of histamine and serotonin. So if you do not look at this particular point seriously, there is possibility that we will be facing all these issues. Then sensitivity of assay method, which method to use for which parameter. If you are using HPLC, you are going up to nanogram concentration. If you are using LCMS, you are going up to picogram concentration. If you are using LCMS-MS, you are going up to femtogram concentrations. This kind of understanding must be there, which is not present in academia because we are not using high-end instruments very frequently. Okay. So if you are shifting from one type of instrument to another type of instrument, or one method, immunological method to HPLC method, there is sufficient variation in the sensitivity of the assay method, and we must know which method we are reporting for which particular parameter, and clearly whether that parameter is present or that component is present up to that concentration in the biological samples or not. Otherwise, very happily we will be keeping on preparing graphs and all, and we will end up with something very serious. Okay. Calibration of the instruments is again another issue. Academically, we are never looking at calibration of balances, calibration of micropipettes, calibration of analytical instruments. We never do that. Even this is one of the sources by which we are committing very, very unethical practices in academic research. So all of us must be very serious about this. There is a necessity that instead of hopping on some very fancy kind of topic, all our academic institutions should look at these basic aspects of science where calibration, quality of material being used, protocol standardization, validation of the results, all these things should be looked after very seriously. Then only we are going to get some ethical practices. We will be confidently able to say that we will be performing the things ethically. There are many aspects about animal research, animal related research. If you change the strain, the duration of response may change. If you change the strain, behavior of the animal may change. And all these things you will be coming to know if you are really seriously looking at these things. Okay? Outliers. Many times we just adjust the outliers and finish the work there itself. We do not think why this kind of outliers are there in our research. Okay? Outliers means those parameters which are showing some higher values in one or two cases. We just adjust that value and we go ahead. Even this is a serious misconduct. Okay? Dependence upon private lab. This is a serious issue for us because we are having shortage of resources. We go to other private labs for HPLC particularly again. There the HPLC person gives you the kind of graphs you need We report all those things. Okay, so these practices also need to be seriously looked after, and we must try to see whether the private laboratory is also giving us proper results or not, whether we are submitting coded samples to them or not. Even this can help us in curbing unethical practices to some extent. There are many examples of such kind. Okay, there are many examples where people are cooking the data, people are manipulating the data, which should be avoided academically. Otherwise, it's possible that by 2025 the number of retracted papers will be going to 20,000. Okay, even concepts of statistics we have to understand properly. Even senior professors I have encountered are committing some uh, incorrect logic for analyzing their data. And statistical analysis we have to look at very properly, very seriously now. Which tests are to be used, whether the data is parametric, non-parametric, whether it is following Gaussian curve or not, normal data is there or not. These things also are important because generally research articles are being handled in a way in which we are handling some production. That never happens about research topics. We have to look at each research parameter with fresh mind again. Then only we'll be able to prevent these mistakes. These unethical facts. Now, question comes: why we need it all? Okay, because if we do not follow ethics properly, the researcher himself is at loss. His colleagues are at loss because they will be thinking that this is a validated protocol. Funding agencies will be at loss. All future workers will be at loss. Society will be at loss. And the biggest problem will be the science, the belief in science will be lost. So, to tackle this kind of problems, first thing we have to do is we have to try to be as honest as possible. Develop technical skills which are used by students to fabricate the data so that you will be able to identify those mistakes very properly. Be skeptical about each result that you are getting in front of you. Be skeptical about validity of each protocol that you are undertaking. Do not believe in anything without questioning. And these practices we have to start implementing in academic research. If we do not do this, we are going to continue committing all these mistakes. Self-criticism is again important. Unfortunately, there are no proper guidelines to maintain raw data of an experiment, which is the biggest mistake. And this is happening in academic research now. In organizations like NIPER, there have been very serious practice of keeping all raw data intact. And they're archiving that data for a few years. So these practices need to be followed by all of us. So keeping record and criticizing our own results. This is also an important thing. Okay. What we'll be getting in return is we'll have less number of publication. We'll be considered as perfectionist, someone who is quite irritating, like virus. Okay. And then virus of that movie, 3D movie, is quite irritating because he is thinking that his students will not be getting jobs. That's not a bad trend, but in research, this kind of things may happen. A particular guide is very irritating. He keeps on asking students about everything. He keeps on showing disbelief in the students. He says that this parameter cannot come. So this kind of irritating experiences may be there, but we have to accept all those irritancies. We have to try to be a researcher with a great character. Otherwise, we will not be able to do the science that is needed. Okay. So in this 1 hour, it was not possible for me to discuss all these examples, but whatever I wanted to share, I feel I have shared with you. And with this quote from Einstein, I am concluding my talk that great research happens when the scientist is having a great character. And this great character of avoiding all unethical practices must be inculcated by us. Okay? So this is what I wanted to share with you. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. And if there are any questions, I would like to take up the questions. Madam, are you there? Okay, there is one question.
Yes,
from,
sir. There is one question.
One question from Vijay Lambole.
Yes.
Types initiatives government has to take to stop unethical practices in research? Okay, this is the next question. See, government has already started taking these steps. Just in the beginning, I told you that there are guidelines to avoid academic misconduct. Okay. UGC has published a systematic document regarding this. UGC and Ministry of Education, and that document is available free of cost on internet. So that's what I said, that this kind of guidelines about academic ethics must be made compulsory at least at PG level in third semester, where we are learning research ethics. Okay, we're learning clinical ethics and all, but regarding our own conduct, no one is telling us how our conduct should be. Okay. Is there any other question?
Yes, the second question is there.
Yeah, that question has disappeared. Yeah, please.
Yes,
How to authenticate the data which we are using for writing articles? Okay, see, this is also a serious issue now. People have started receiving emails from publishers asking them whether they were aware that some retracted articles have been mentioned in their bibliography or not. Okay? Because it is possible that the article has been retracted after you publish the paper, or after you included it in your bibliography. So now publishers are trying to take this kind of efforts, that if suppose by mistake you are adding some retracted paper in the bibliography, those papers should be highlighted in bibliography also, and undertaking to be taken from the author, that author was unaware about the retraction of that paper, and by mistake he has added that particular article in the bibliography. So this kind of practices are coming up, and these are coming up because we are having very rapid access to the data. We are having very rapid methods to analyze the data. Okay, so if suppose a retracted paper is taken in someone's bibliography, it is removed, and then to authenticate the data which we are using for writing articles, first thing you have to do is you have to check whether there is any retraction note published with that article. Another thing is, if you are talking about research article, then the best thing is to validate your own results in your lab. Carry out the pilot study. Many times, because of lack of resources, pilot studies are not taken up in academia. But conducting a pilot research, pilot protocol is very important. That will be enabling the student to practice some of the parameters. That will be telling the students what amount of work they have to do when they will be taking actual research activity. So all these things are to be very strictly followed now. If we are doing this, we can avoid using unauthenticated data.
yes, sir. I think no more questions.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
See, this ethics is a big topic, and we can keep on sharing experiences that we have come across. And if you're looking at research seriously, then many such experiences will be there with you. Yeah, madam, we can conclude.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you very much for giving elaborate insights on ethics in academic research. You have very well explained the examples of scientific misconduct or fabrication of results and its impact globally. Thank you very much, sir. On behalf of principal and faculty members of MSG Copper Nashik, I am very thankful to you, sir. Please accept the certificate of appreciation.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, can I leave the meeting now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot. Thank you.